Hello, good morning, and we would like to welcome you to Westside Future Fund's 14th Virtual Transform Westside Summit. My name is Ebony Ford, and I am a Westside resident, specifically English Avenue. I love living in my neighborhood. It is alive. And I have these contrasting ideals that you generally do not get in your home. For example, I can walk to the biggest and the best attractions that people come from all over the world to attend. I have those in my backyard, and I also live downtown. And I have a yard, like I have a house. So just the contrasting ideas that I'm that close to a downtown big metro area like Atlanta, but that I have a house. Awesome, awesome. And another good thing that I love about living on the West Side is that I am immersed in just this awesome, rich culture and history that is there every single day. But I'm also able to watch my neighborhood transform right before my eyes every single day. And you don't generally get to live in a neighborhood, again, that has those two contrasting ideals. Awesome. I'm super, super excited about the future of the West Side and where it's headed. We have the Beltline coming through, and we know how transformative the Beltline has been. And we've seen that, and we're going to see the same thing on the West Side. I'm very excited about that. We have a brand new park coming. We have awesome infrastructure, from watershed management projects to just sidewalks and, you know, ADA compliance, just all kind of really good things that are being done on the West Side in my very neighborhood that, again, I get to see every single day. We have these summits for two very important reasons. One is to connect the dots from the West Side residents to our partners that kind of keep the West Side future coming and keep pushing those awesome projects that we have going on, but also to build community. And since we are dealing with COVID-19 at this time, we are building that community in this way, digitally. And so we hope that you will connect with us on our social media platforms, comment, and like if you can. And we're excited to get on with the summit, so I'd like to give you guys John Amon. John.
All right, well, thank you, Ebony, for opening our broadcast this morning. I want to apologize to our viewers. We had some technical difficulties coming online this morning, but we're here and you're here.
Absolutely.
And I really, appreciate Ebony when we were thinking more about how to, bring more resident voices into our broadcast, especially during, COVID. And we should say we're practicing social distancing right now.
Yes.
But that's when actually over the weekend I had on my list to call you to see if you'd be willing to do this, and I was actually out driving around English Avenue doing a tour, and there you were out on your front lawn.
It was perfect. It was
I pulled right up. You were out there doing yard work with your family.
I was helping my son learn how to ride his bike.
And I asked you to do this broadcast, and you said yes right away.
I'm honored. Honored to be here.
Yeah, and so you got here early this morning, so thank you very much.
No problem.
And you want to tell you got your son here with you, so thank you.
I do, and my sister as well.
And your sister.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I first actually met you via a video you were kind enough to do for us. So one of the very first programs that was stood up by the Westside Future Fund was an anti-displacement tax fund.
Yes.
And that came out of the learnings as the neighborhoods revitalized and repopulated. It might drive assessments of property taxes. And a lot of the legacy residents were concerned that when the assessments went up, their property tax would go up and they couldn't afford to stay.
Absolutely.
And actually, so one of the first things we launched was that anti-tax displacement fund, and we thought, and one of the things I kind of thought, you think, well, a lot of people would sign up for that right away, but one of the things we learned, there was a lot of lack of trust in the neighborhoods. People didn't trust what we were really doing. Absolutely. And what we first really appreciate about you is you did a testimonial video for us to help educate, especially residents, about the program. So we wanted to kind of show that video now.
Oh, sure.
Share with our viewers, right? Yeah, okay. So we're going to cut that video, and we'll come right back.
Okay, sounds good. My name is Ebony, and I've lived in English Avenue for 10 years. I kept coming back to this neighborhood. I mean, just beautiful homes, and I love the proximity to downtown. The location is awesome. Just tailgating out there. Pretty exciting neighborhood, actually. Home means to me a place that I can come home to with my son. We have little parties in the kitchen. He really just loves our home, making it a home as much as I can for him. I was a little afraid about all the changes that I saw going around, the construction projects and things growing and getting torn down and put back up, and it was kind of scary. Like, oh my gosh, what is this going to do to the taxes? If I did not have access to the Westside Future Fund, I can't see myself in the neighborhood probably in a couple of years, because my taxes increased about 600%. No, it sounds like a whole lot, but it was that much in 1 year, and Westside Future Fund picked up the difference in those taxes. I knew that the home that I had made for myself would and could financially be my home for the foreseeable future. You have to get out there into your community and actually look for the programs. Sometimes they don't always knock on your door. I literally Google Westside Atlanta every couple of days to see what's going on, any programs or events or new construction projects, and it was also there as well. The application process for the Westside Future Fund was not bad. You have to make sure that you truly are the owner, you're living in the home as your primary residence. Make sure you qualify as far as the amount of time you've owned the home. There are a lot of changes in English Avenue on the west side right now. As a homeowner, I feel like I'm in a good position and I like the changes. There's a lot of pride coming back into the neighborhood and I'm very, very happy to be a part of it. Very thankful for that.
All right, I mean, that's a great video. And we try to share that with folks to kind of to build trust, because now we have 127 homeowners enrolled. And I know now it's needed more than ever. I live in Vine City now, and my property taxes doubled.
Yes.
I'm not a legacy resident, so I don't qualify for that program. It's meant for those over here.
Oh my gosh, how ironic is that?
But no, it's all good. It's all good, and we especially want to thank, because when Arthur Blank, built the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium and put a lot of his own family philanthropy in it via the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, he also asked a lot of the stadium partners, the initial folks that were the sponsors of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, to kind of help in the revitalization effort with their time and treasure. And so we're going to be hearing more from those folks this morning, and a lot of their companies were philanthropic contributors to this collective effort. Awesome. What a lot of people don't always appreciate, even though we have the word fund in our name, Westside Future Fund, we spend a lot of our time going out there and getting funds, and a lot of them came from our stadium partners to fund programs like the anti-displacement tax program.
Thank God for that.
So you're going to encourage your neighbors to sign up because we want more people to take advantage of it. Absolutely.
That's what I'll do.
Well, unfortunately, we always, as part of this broadcast, remind folks we're still in COVID. As I said earlier this morning, we're practicing social distancing here at TMPV Studio.
Absolutely.
But we always bring up a slide to kind of remind ourselves of what the situation is in the neighborhoods. Unfortunately, COVID is hitting 30314, the neighborhoods that we live, disproportionately hard. Yep. But we see on the slide still unemployment's high, unfortunately, and which made that even harder. Unfortunately, the Congress has not passed an extension of the unemployment aid. Absolutely. So we know a lot of folks' money has run out, yep. And hopefully that'll be addressed soon. But we estimate in our neighborhoods over 30% unemployment rate due to COVID, and we know that's led to some despair and unfortunately, was talking with some of the health clinics. Domestic violence is up because they're seeing that more cases of domestic violence in the trauma centers. Yeah. But a little bit of good news, a few weeks ago, this was trending up the wrong way. Folks can see that cases in 30314 actually were going up a few weeks ago, but now they're going back down.
Good.
So that's good. And also, we've had in our previous broadcast, with the schools still being virtual. And how's that working for you? I know you've got...
Yes, I do. I have a 5-year-old. He's in kindergarten, so the material is not super difficult at this time, but it's his first time in school, and his first time in school is virtual. So he didn't get that, my first time going to the classroom or riding the big bus. He didn't get that, but it's working out. Is he
ready to be back in school, I bet?
He is, but he doesn't even know what he's missing, really, because he's never been in school, so it's not too bad, not too bad.
Well, then the... And for those that are new to our broadcast, I mean, you know a little bit about us, but we have a bulletin. So if you're watching our broadcast and haven't pulled off our website, please grab our bulletin. And for those that are new to our broadcast, tell you a little bit about the Westside Future Fund. I'm the president and CEO of the Westside Future Fund. The Westside Future Fund is a not-for-profit, specifically constituted to focus on the historic neighborhoods immediately west of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which include English Avenue.
Absolutely.
But we have up on the screen kind of our vision. We take a lot of inspiration from some of the great heroes that came in the neighborhoods before us. Dr. King and his wife Coretta lived in Vine City. Absolutely. So we have as our vision statement, how to build a community Dr. King we're proud to call home. And really try to base our whole revitalization effort is with a compassionate approach, especially with an eye to working with existing residents like yourself.
Absolutely.
The Westside Future Fund is overseen by a board of directors. I think we're going to show that next up on. So I got a great volunteer board of directors. A few of them I think are in our broadcast this morning. But our chair, Dr. Beverly Tatum, the previous president of Spelman College, so a great board of directors, and again, volunteer board of directors, and a lot of a great team at the Westside Future Fund. Kind of show next the team, supporting the work of the Westside Future Fund. All right, And so thank you, team. And one of the great things that the team's working hard, and we've shown in some of our other broadcasts, is bringing more of our Home on the Westside product online with more multifamilies, ensure residents can stick with high quality rental. Yes. And one of the things we always want to remind viewers too is we have a giveaway at the end of our broadcast, a Home Depot card giveaway.
Gift card, yes.
So if you register for our broadcast, you're eligible. We're going to give a name at the very end of the broadcast.
Awesome.
So you had a gift ticket from the Home Depot. And I don't think you'll be able to win this morning, Ebony, because you're here.
Yes,
but if you can still register on our website, and we're going to pull that name at about 8:50. Okay. So thank you, Home Depot Foundation.
Thank you.
And one of the things we want to do too, we've done in other live broadcasts, is go to our live cam. Do we still have our live cam? Benjamin, is he ready to come up from 970 Jefferson Street? All right. Well, this is another Westsider. Have y'all met before, Ebony and Benjamin?
Good morning.
Is this y'all's first time?
Benjamin?
No, this is first time.
Hi, Benjamin.
Good morning, Ebony.
Good morning.
How you guys doing?
We're very good, thank you.
How we doing this morning?
We're doing good, man.
I'm here live at 970 Jefferson Street. I'm sorry, John, say again?
Tell us what's going on at 970 Jefferson Street.
Yes, sir. I'm here live at 970 Jefferson Street, what used to be the headquarters of Atlanta Community Food Bank, now the new home of Westside Future Fund. What is generally offered here is, several nonprofits come to, show love for the Westside. The building is literally tens of thousands of square feet that'll be used for that purpose, as well as to provide work and creative spaces for Westside entrepreneurs. But one of the things that's got us most excited is how we use it currently on Thursdays. Every Thursday, beginning at 9 a.m. through the afternoon, we have volunteers show up. And shout out to all the volunteers who have been coming through. You guys have been doing tremendous work. Thank you very much. But our volunteers come through and they deliver food, free, fresh food to our Westside residents in need. We have volunteers come through, sort through different fresh food as well as non-perishable items, load up into our volunteer drivers' vehicles, and we distribute those food items to our residents in need. So again, shout out to everybody who has been participating thus far. And we also look forward to having more volunteers come and mobilize your love for the Westside. It's a great opportunity to give back.
All right, well, I know, Benjamin, we're gonna come back to you a little bit later in our broadcast, but thank you for being out there this morning.
Absolutely, yeah.
And for the next part of our broadcast, we know we're going to turn to our devotion. And for those that are new to our broadcast this morning, but we always, ground our program in a devotion.
Absolutely.
We asked the devotion speaker to draw from the lessons of Nehemiah in the Old Testament, and that story, it's the story of the cupbearer to the king Nehemiah going back to Jerusalem, called to it by the suffering of the residents. But he started by rebuilding the wall so the residents were safe again. But it was really for me, when you study kind of a story of grounding in a common set of values about how you rebuild community. And before I talk a little bit about our devotion speaker this morning, I'm going to level set. I always read a devotion statement. Okay. I'm going to read this as I always do. It's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive, inspirational message from a member of our community. Recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside revitalization effort, the time at the beginning of our meeting is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. While the speakers may articulate their personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. And we're lucky this morning, and he's actually been on our broadcast. Zavier Warner, a young man I actually met through the work. He's actually been served by one of our, great programs through the At Promise Center, and working with Chris 180, coming through those programs at the At Promise Center. And now he's also an artist. Wow. And I first met him. We interviewed him, at the At Promise Center, and but we thought he would do a great job with the devotion this morning. Absolutely. So we're going to cut to a pre-recorded devotion from Benjamin. Okay. It's about 6 minutes or so. Okay. And then we'll come on back. Okay. So we could cut to that message from Zavier.
All right. What's up, y'all? It's Zavier Warner, team member of Westside Future Fund. For some of you guys who don't know, I was on the summit of June 5th speaking about police brutality and the change we needed in America. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a devotion about the teachings of Nehemiah. When I think of myself and the turnaround I've done, I like to think of the story of Nehemiah and all his changes. When we see any of our past still causes us trouble, we we should do as Nehemiah did. He faced the problems head on, making specific plans to correct them immediately. And for me, I like that part of his story because I went through a drastic 8 months. And I'm a spiritual being, so I knew it was something that God wanted me to know. And the starting of the 8 months that I went through, a blue bird was giving me signs, but I didn't have insights on like being spiritual with how I am now. And on down the line through my 8 months, I was homeless and I had got incarcerated for something I didn't do. But I knew God wanted me to focus on something, and that was to regain focus for what I need to be in life now. And me gaining that focus, it turned out to be all that I have now. Me being a part of Westside Future Fund, it opened up to me getting therapy, which I needed, and it kind of helped me like deal with certain stuff and have a different insight on it. And that's all I'm trying to bring is awareness and a different insight for me, for people, for where I'm from, for officers, for all type of people. And because I feel like that's the change, that's the bigger change that we need. Chris 180 and the At Promise Center also was a let out for me because when I didn't have nowhere to go, they opened their doors and it just was like a home. It was like a second family or a family that I never had. Just walking into the At Promise Center and being welcome and feeling love that I never felt before. And sometimes I would question it because it didn't come from the people that had me or it didn't come from people that I really knew. But if I don't know nothing, I know what genuine love is because I never had it. And I appreciate Chris 180 and I appreciate the At Promise Center for you know, having their arms open and for having it. I just want to say I appreciate Chris 180 and At Promise Center and Westside Future for open arms and just treating me like I never been treated before, giving me an opportunity and just hearing me and let me be a advocate and, you know, just express myself. I came from the streets, not just in the streets. I was a street runner, drugs, guns, you name it, I did it. Incarceration, prison, I did it. And me being able to change my life, sometimes it scared me, cause I look back and I see some of my friends still stuck, and I know they stuck because they don't have the let out that I was able to be blessed with, and I appreciate that every day. I appreciate that. Westside Future, being able to give me somewhere to stay, you know, being able to. And I know there's some people out there that's my age or even younger. Like I say, that's scared of change and don't even see the change. But I'm telling you, today it can change and God got a better calling for you. Just don't be scared of it. And that converts back into what Nehemiah said, and that was, he had a quote that said, sometimes we are afraid to ask other people to support God's work for fear of being turned down. But if God is leading us, we can act badly and boldly and leave the results up to God. And I'm saying that as far as the deeper aspect with not even just asking, but just putting it on your heart to ask. Ask God. Sometimes I feel like my people are scared to ask God because we believe in ourselves more than we believe in the higher being. But it's a change coming for everybody who want it, even some who don't want it. But I just want you to be encouraged and be motivated by me or anybody else, or by the situation that you're in, because that's how I was motivated. But it is a better it's a better route and it's a better way.
I mean, wow. I mean, Zavier, if you're watching, really, thank you for that really heartfelt devotion. And I take a lot of, inspiration out of that. I'm sure others do too. And I really appreciate how you share with folks how you, really draw on your faith and really tough circumstances and really, kind of model in your walk. So thank you for sharing that. And now for the next part of our broadcast, we're really excited because one of the things we want to do, a lot of support for the Westside Future Fund, where we get our funds, is from a lot of different corporations and independent foundations out there that help fund the collective revitalization efforts. So one of the things you heard Zavier talk about was Chris 180 and the work out of the Promise Center. Well, that's funded by a lot of the stadium partners we're going to hear from this morning. And so, please pick up the bulletin because we have the bios of all the folks we're going to be hearing from this morning from the Mercedes-Benz stadium partners. But we're going to have 3 come on, via Zoom, and the 3 we're going to have, come on and join me via Zoom. We're going to do a little bit of a Q&A with the stadium partners to kind of hear more about their why they get behind the collective efforts and what they've been doing. But we're going to be hearing from Erica Bolden, who's with Mercedes-Benz. She's the head of diversity, inclusion, and corporate responsibility for Mercedes-Benz USA. Yeah, great, And then we also have Ashley Gravlee. She's with Novelis, and she's their manager of the corporate responsibility program. And we also have Nyra Jorns with America, Family Insurance. And so their full bios are in our bulletin this morning. So we're going to do a little Q&A with our live panelists, and then we have some pre-recorded interviews with the other stadium partners, so we can hear. We're not going to hear from every single one this morning, but we want to hear from quite a few because we really want to do a better job of lifting up their great investment and why they are, such a big part of what's happening here on the West Side. So are we ready to, bring them in via? All right, panelists. Whew, thank you. Good to see you this morning. Can everybody hear me? All right, I see all the heads nodding. Thank you. So I appreciate everyone joining us this morning. And so what I thought I would do this morning is just start with a question for kind of each of you, kind of the same question, because I think it's important for viewers to understand. And maybe we'll start with you, Erica, but give them a little bit of the why of why you're involved in the collective realization of the effort. So if you want to kind of reflect on why Mercedes-Benz, because you didn't have to do it. It was a choice that you made, for which we're grateful. But a little bit of the why and some of the key things you want folks to know about what Mercedes-Benz is doing, part of the Westside efforts.
Absolutely. Good morning. So, for us, Mercedes-Benz USA, we've always had a robust philanthropic program that focuses on the youth, education, mentoring. And so being able to be an important part of the community and have that environment and community assistance, really with the underlying goal to build stronger communities and empower the next generation. And so when we relocated our headquarters to Atlanta from New Jersey, we had to make sure that we were more than just a logo on a building or a name on a stadium, beautiful stadium, but we wanted to make sure that we were a vital part of the community. And especially with the stadium being on the west side of Atlanta, we really recognized the extraordinary needs of this community and wanted to be sure that we could support the work that was already underway and just to continue to focus our efforts on these initiatives to help these under-resourced neighborhoods. And the overriding purpose of the Westside Future Fund, it aligned completely with our philanthropic initiatives and our efforts. And so we just recognized that joining together, we could all have that greater impact and ensure that we were really focused to create a sustainable future for the people who live on the West Side. That was very important to us.
All right. I mean, that's awesome. And thank you. And then maybe to Ashley, met you early on. You've been such a great part of the efforts. So tell folks a little bit about, Novelis and your why in the work in the collective effort.
Thank you, John. It is certainly a pleasure to be here representing Novelis. We're proud to call Atlanta home, and part of the legacy that Atlanta has in the world is, of course, the important work of Martin Luther King Jr. and what he did to change, how we think about the beloved community. And so it is really, really our honor to partner with the Arthur Blank Foundation, Westside Future Fund, be a partner in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And I think that early on, when Arthur and his team came to Novelis to present the opportunity of partnering with both the stadium, but also making it clear that being a partner in the stadium means we need to be a greater partner in the Westside community. And to me, I was honestly a little skeptical when they came. I thought, well, a slap of paint here, et cetera, but what is that really going to do? And it really, really changed my mind when I heard about the strategic plan that Arthur was putting together and the real forces of community engagement that he was inspiring. And so, for us, it's transformative, the work that is being done on a holistic basis. And we're also proud to be part of Westside Future Fund and Amazing Westside because it has a lot of heart. There's a lot of promise there. And we're just so proud to be part of the transformative, holistic, and change that represents the best of Atlanta and the best of who we are as neighbors.
No, thank you, Ashley. I'm gonna, come back to you in a moment too, but want to hear it from our third panelist, kind of the same question, kind of your why, and tell viewers a little bit about from American and Family Insurance, which we appreciate very much, being part of the collective effort.
Yes, good morning. Thank you all for having me. I'm so thrilled to join you from Madison, Wisconsin, where American Family Insurance is headquartered. And while we're domiciled here in Wisconsin, we still feel a commitment to all the communities where we operate, and Atlanta is definitely top of the list for us. Corporate responsibility and being a good citizen to our communities and a partner in purpose to our communities is key to who we are, and it's actually centered to our overall business strategy. So when we think about corporate responsibility, we don't think about it separate from any of the work that we do of insurance. It's all integrated and making sure that we're an inclusive partner and an inclusive employer. So in a nutshell, we believe that communities matter, and we want to be that partner with communities across the country. And we think that in order for us to be that good citizen, that communities have to thrive. And so the fact that the work of the Westside Future Fund is proximate to the communities that it serves is also key for us. And so it makes Westside Future Fund just an ideal partner for us. We also believe that our focus, we really center ourselves at that nexus of social impact in today's social justice movement. So we believe that when we think about how communities, particularly the community that's served by Westside Future Fund and communities across this country, the way they're being impacted by the current pandemic, what's happening with social justice, that it's important for us to be present, and it's important for us to be active and to be intentionally engaged. Last week in a blog, our CEO challenged us to think about not only having hope, for being hope. And so when we think of these partnerships within our communities, it's that hope. That's the why for us. We want to help instill that. We want to be that, and we feel like it's a true partnership as we think about how we can continue to revitalize our communities across the country.
All right, now thank you. And I was just kind of reflecting as I was, appreciating all the answer. One of the things we did, and we continue to do a lot of the early work of the Westside Future Fund, is just learn from others, because there's so many great ideas out there about collective revitalization efforts, but y'all all represent, global companies. And I'd just be curious, be interested for our viewers to know, as you reflect on, some of the Westside efforts, what are some of the things that I'll kind of open up to anyone y'all want to kind of tackle this, but that you would consider, unique about our efforts, but something you think that we're maybe doing a little bit different here than you see in other places? Any reflections on how you see that working versus what you see happening around the country? Anyone want to grab that one? Not at all?
Hi, John. I'll jump in there. So, kind of what I referenced in the opening statements is I think it's the holistic nature. It is from education to workforce development to access to healthcare, transportation, affordable housing. I think all of those things have to work together to produce the transformative change and to uplift the West Side to its potential. So I really appreciate the holistic approach because you guys have brought together so many different partners. I also think the difference has also been in these kind of meetings. So listening to the residents, making sure that they're part of the vision and they are helping give feedback. At Novelis, we have a cultural belief in giving feedback and saying anything and not being afraid to speak up. And so I think that is a real strength of Westside Future Fund. So I just give major kudos to you, Dan, Kathy, and the whole team of hosting these summits and being true listeners to the community needs.
No, thank you. Very kind of you to say, Ashley. And one thing I thought I'd lift up, because I remember it was one of the things I learned when I first started, was how y'all really recycled. You might want to tell the story about how Novelis really leaned into recycling that at the stadium that then led to some habitat homes.
Absolutely. So 6 years ago, we partnered first at the Georgia Dome with the Atlanta Falcons, and then with the creation of the new stadium, we partner, of course, with Mercedes-Benz Stadium holistically. But essentially, we wanted to underscore the importance of recycling aluminum, but also the transformative nature that it has on our planet and what the value can do for our community. So the premise of Recycle for Good is that for every 3 million aluminum cans that are recycled from the stadium or with community partners, we have different community partners all over the city of Atlanta and Metro Atlanta collecting cans for us. Every 3 million aluminum cans equals $80,000 in value. And that value is paid forward to Habitat for Humanity by Novelis to fund homes on the West Side. We actually were the first company to build and fund a Habitat for Humanity home on the West Side in 2016. We've gone on to fund additional homes in the area and are working on funding our third home right now, fully funded by the value of recycling cans. So it's been a great story of sustainability. It also has lended others from the community to contribute their cans to the cause and feel like they have something to pay it forward to others. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to share, because we're really excited about what we have partnered with Mercedes-Benz Stadium and the Arthur Blank Foundation in partnership with Habitat as well.
No, it's a great program, and actually those Habitat homes are over in English Avenue. And one of the things I learned when I started to work, some of the highest rates of home ownership in English Avenue are thanks to Atlanta Habitat for Humanity around Katherine Johnson Memorial Park. And we opened our broadcast with Ebony, who's in our anti-tax displacement program. She lives in English Avenue, but we actually launched the program in front of a Habitat homeowner. She was about to pay off her Habitat 15-year mortgage and was concerned about property taxes. So no, it's great to see those Habitat homes coming online. And I thought next, Erica and Nyra kind of come to you with maybe the same question. But I think folks, especially our viewers, given so much, appropriate focus on racial equity, that conversation now occurring around our country, and I'm sure, both for Mercedes-Benz American Family Insurance, is just sharing with a little bit of viewers as how y'all, as you affect your philanthropy and affect what you're doing going forward, how the whole conversation about racial equity in terms of, both Mercedes-Benz American Family Insurance, as you think about, what's coming up the next couple of years, how that's affected y'all's thinking and giving. So maybe I'll kind of start with you, Erica.
Yes, thank you. So everything that we do from a giving standpoint, we think about corporate giving. In my role, of course, because I oversee both diversity inclusion and our CSR efforts, I want to ensure that they are strategically aligned. And so that's why I'm so excited just to see how in Atlanta you have the business and the philanthropic communities uniting to achieve the same goal. And anything that we want to do from a giving standpoint, we involve our employees. And so, it's important for us to, again, to be a member of the community, not just to give financially, but to give with our employees' time. And it's an investment of human capital as well. So time, talent, and treasure, we want to ensure that we do that. And it's an exciting time. It's just seeing the progress. Of course, the issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, they certainly are not new. They've always been urgent, but we do see a heightened sense of urgency to address these things. And so, change is in front of us, and it's important to grasp onto that change to maximize the momentum that we can actually, move forward to make a change and ensure that we are creating an environment where our future generations can thrive and be supported. So it's always important for us. We have been working remotely in MB USA headquarters since the month of March, and beginning in the month of May, we started our curbside caring initiative. So we've got this brand new office building located in Sandy Springs, and so we've refashioned our kitchen there. So we've been catering upwards of 1,000 meals per week, and we cater those to our nonprofit community partners on the West Side. So organizations like Meals on Wheels Atlanta, Open Hands Atlanta, Second Helpings Atlanta, to increase the number of food deliveries that they have, as well as loaning several of our Sprinter vans, our Mercedes vans, to increase the number of deliveries. So again, ensuring that anything that we're doing, we are bolstering those community efforts, because we've seen disproportionate impacts with this global health pandemic and how it is affecting communities of color, right? So we see that impact on issues, the uptick of racism, discrimination. We want to ensure that there's equitable access to not only food security, but to education. And so partnering, ensuring that we've got pipeline projects, recently partnering with Atlanta Public School Systems and Communities in Schools, Miles Elementary. And so we want to make sure that we have that equitable access to these things like food and education, community, so that we can ensure that the next generation thrives.
Oh, that's awesome. I really appreciate how much direction y'all take from your employees. And just to remind, not all of yours might know, but y'all are actually, your North America headquarters is in Sandy Springs. So y'all, I think, located to Sandy Springs, 6-7 years ago. It was a big coup for Atlanta to have the North American headquarters of Mercedes-Benz. So thank you. So Nyra, maybe a kind of same question for you is terms of, how the conversations about racial equity and social justice in terms of the giving and focus of your efforts with American Family Insurance.
Yeah, excuse me, absolutely. We continue to have our Dreams Foundation, which is a way that our employees are able to engage with volunteering as well as corporate dollars. But we've also started to evolve how we view philanthropy from this charitable perspective of charitable giving, to think about it from that lens of equity and justice. So thinking about equity and justice and trying to think about a way that we can look at some of these issues a little differently. We actually, toward the end of 2018, launched the American Family Insurance Institute for Corporate and Social Impact. And the Institute really is our way of thinking a little more innovatively about how we look at social issues. And the lens and the mission of the Institute is to close equity gaps in America. So when we think about how we engage with our community, and we talked a little bit about the proximity that the Westside Future Fund has to the community, we really leverage the insights from the communities that we're partnering with, because there's the giving and the participation of our employees in terms of volunteering and their financial resources. But we also look at it from a lens of venture capital. So investing in early stage startups that are tackling social issues such as academic achievement gaps in K through 12 education, mental health support for young people and their families, climate resiliency and the impacts of climate that we're seeing on underserved communities, and then economic opportunity. So looking for ways to provide resources to underserved communities, including access to workforce, career path workforce, as well as looking at ways to support individuals that have been impacted by the criminal justice system. So we also think about that in terms of startups and innovative entrepreneurs and startup founders that are trying to work in this space. And so for us, it's very key that proximity to the community and that understanding of the social issues and that lived experience informs how we think about our venture capital investment. So these two arms of our institute go hand in hand. So for us, we will continue to give support through our foundation and continue to provide ways for our employees to volunteer and be a part of that giving. But the Institute is also key in terms of how our employees engage with the communities in terms of mentorship, workforce development, and then how we source talent from a startup perspective. And Atlanta has been a key resource for us when we've thought about looking for startup talent and startup founders. I think the logical mind goes to the coast, Boston or New York or Silicon Valley. We think the Midwest, and we think areas like Atlanta are places that innovative talent exists. So that's how we've been thinking about our social justice and equity and how that bleeds into not only our traditional way of giving through our foundations, but also this new approach through our institute.
Well, from all y'all's answers, thank you for that, how much thoughtfulness you've clearly, with the current issues. And I want to actually, because all of y'all touched on corporate volunteerism, so I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask y'all when we come back in our next segment, because we're about to cut to a pre-recorded interview. But when I come back, I want to come back to each of y'all to kind of talk more about your corporate volunteerism and the projects your employees have been engaged, on the West Side, because I know all of you have been so intentional about that. But for our next, I think we're going to, go back to our live cam to kind of help set up our next pre-recorded interview. So Benjamin, are you there? Are we bringing you back in? I hope so. All right. Now we're back at live at 970. John. Excellent. All right.
Yeah.
And so our West Side correspondent, our very own Benjamin Early, thank you. You want to set up our next pre-recorded interview that you did with Mr. Rodney Bullard?
Absolutely. So like our stadium partners right now that are being represented by our fantastic panelists, I got a chance to sit down with Rodney Bullard and the incredible exec over at Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A Foundation. He was gracious enough to invite us out to his home for a conversation about the many ways that Chick-fil-A is supporting efforts on the West Side, not only in revitalization, but also in community service. You alluded to it a few moments ago with volunteerism. We're going to hear a bit about how Chick-fil-A is getting their employees involved on the West Side. And later on, as we take questions, we'll also hear the same from other nonprofits and organizations that we've been working with. So if you could just roll the, roll the conversation that I had with Rodney Bullard.
My name is Rodney Bullard, and I have the honor of working with Chick-fil-A, Chick-fil-A Foundation, and Dan Cathy on the West Side of Atlanta.
If you could just talk a little bit about why Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A Foundation partnered with Westside Future Fund to begin with.
It's important that Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A Foundation partner with the Westside Future Fund because really we recognized early on that the Westside Future Fund was a catalyst for change on the West Side and could act as a community quarterback, but also act as a coalescing body where everybody could come together regardless of our differences and have the opportunity to move forward in the same direction.
Let's talk a bit about some of the volunteer efforts that come from Chick-fil-A on the West Side specifically. We have our food distribution effort. We, from time to time, see a lot of Chick-fil-A personnel come out and volunteer for that. If you could just highlight the volunteer effort.
Well, volunteerism really is important and at the core of what Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A Foundation are doing. And so Dan knew that it was very important for us to be involved. And so we have been a part of the West Side Volunteer Corps since day one, and ensuring that we are helpful, whether it be with food, whether it be with just showing up and giving ourselves. That's an important thing for us.
And again, we greatly cherish the relationship with Chick-fil-A and all that you do in every impact area of ours. But specifically when it comes to health and wellness, you guys have made a huge impact financially supporting the health clinic over at Hollis Innovation Academy. If you could just talk a bit about that relationship.
No, we love Hollis Innovation Academy, and we're particularly proud of the health clinic that is residing right inside the school. And it allows the students and also allows the community to come and ensure that their health is taken care of, but it also allows the students to be taken care of right where they go to school. And so pre-COVID, we were able to do that. And we hope that that continues to be the case post-COVID as well.
Awesome. And final question for you. What's got you personally most excited about the revitalization happening on the West Side?
I'm most excited about the people. This is about the people and ensuring that the legacy residents and those who want to be a part of the culture and continue to uplift the culture and the leadership of the West Side. That's what's important. And so the people has me jazzed.
Spoken like a true philanthropist. Thank you so much, Mr. Rodney Bullard of Chick-fil-A Inc. and Chick-fil-A Foundation. We appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, my friend.
Right.
Keep leading.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's a great line. The people have me jazzed, and that kind of, leads into our next question for our panelists. One thing we're really appreciative of Chick-fil-A and Chick-fil-A Foundation under, Rodney's leadership, along with Carol Waddy, is our whole Westside Volunteer Corps. We actually launched that in partnership with the United Way, who helped us kind of get it moving, and we're very grateful for that, because we know that the corporate volunteerism is such an important part of the collective efforts. And so I want to come back to our live panelists, and maybe start with you, Ashley, is to talk about NCR and the corporate volunteer projects that y'all do, and the ones you're really proud of on the West Side.
Of course, muted. Sorry about that. So thank you, John. We at Novelis have a great partnership with Westside Future Fund that is beloved by our employees. It's actually one of our top year-round partnerships that colleagues just want to get involved with. As you know, we have pre-COVID an annual Communities and Coffee event where we invite all of our nonprofits in to learn about the different initiatives and nonprofits that we partner with in the Atlanta community and beyond. And you guys are always the favorite. Specifically, as I mentioned earlier, we have colleagues involved with Recycle for Good, volunteering at the stadium to spread the word about recycling and habitat. And that includes an internal focus to employees of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to talk about habitat and the affordable housing that they offer. So colleagues get engaged that way. We've also built, since 2013, 11 homes for habitat, 2 to 3 of which have been in the West Side and English Avenue area. So it's a part of the city that our colleagues are becoming more familiar with from both an engagement with the stadium, but also through our habitat builds. In addition, we have also had annual events with Hollis Academy to beautify their school, learn how we can be a boost. So those are our beloved volunteer events that we host every MLK Junior Day. And then more specifically to this year, we have hosted school supply drives and food drives that benefit the West Side. And Novelis is actually celebrating its Global Volunteer Month all around the world. And here in Atlanta, we are encouraging colleagues to collect shelf-stable food to donate to the West Side. And we also have a colleague out of our Kennesaw Research and Technology Center who saw that we had our first aid basic kits that we could replenish and donate to the West Side to give families on the West Side access to these first aid kits. So we look forward to contributing that. Moreover, just holistically, we love our partnership with the West Side. It's something that we want to build upon from an educational standpoint, and also from a workforce development standpoint. So look forward to the partnership potential that's to come.
Awesome. Well, it's great to hear that's among your employees' favorite places to volunteer on the West Side. So what about Mercedes-Benz? Tell us a little bit about Mercedes-Benz corporate volunteerism project on the West Side.
Yes. Well, we ensure that we engage specifically with partners on the West Side, even though, we are We belong to an international, global company, but MB USA, we are headquartered here in the Atlanta metropolitan area. So we do focus on the West Side through our Greatness Lives Here initiative, and we specifically partner with organizations like Hollis, as Ashley just mentioned, Trees Atlanta. We just had a great tree planting volunteer activity that was socially distanced, but that was a great time. Junior Achievement, Families First, Hands on Atlanta Day. So our volunteerism with our employees can be upwards of 3,000 hours per year. That's been a bit tricky now because we're trying to be more innovative given a virtual platform. We just had our virtual week of caring where we partnered with other entities like Mercedes-Benz Financial Services, Daimler Trucks North America, making sure that we are creating an environment where we are increasing that level of employee engagement. And we also place our executive management team on board. So, for example, Families First, Metro Atlanta Chamber, Junior Achievement, Trees Atlanta. So again, making sure that we are not only investing dollars, but also the time, and we have that employee engagement. And as I mentioned, from just in a standpoint of addressing these disproportionate impacts of the pandemic, we've done caring for our first responders, specifically in Sandy Springs, where we coordinated efforts to ensure that we were catering meals for local first responders. And that was the onset of the pandemic, where we really had that, really trying to grasp to tackle and help these first responders in the Atlanta area, and making sure that we were giving PPE supplies, for example, the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, loaning our Sprinter vans for the meal deliveries through the Curbside Caring Initiative that I previously mentioned. And also, again, of course, ensuring that we have support for our students. And so, a lot of our little ones are in an environment that is virtual. So ensuring that they have appropriate school supplies to carry out their education. And, anytime that we want to make sure that the families, our friends, our community members, if they are struggling, then we're struggling. So we need to make sure that we're continue to help these individuals who have been infected and impacted, and making sure they continue their studies, providing a safety net for tuition and materials. And since our move to Atlanta back in 2015, we've continued to provide ongoing scholarships to the historically Black colleges and universities here. So providing scholarships to Atlanta universities, that is important, in creating apprenticeship internships to, again, ensure that they do have that pipeline for success. And again, many of our own MBUSA employees, those family members, they work on the front lines as well. So we continue to create care packages for them. We sent those out to 13 different states, and wanted to ensure that we continue to thank them for their efforts as members of our community family. So again, just ensuring that we are investing that time, and it really does help to cultivate a sense of belonging. A lot of employers, they're making sure that they're creating an environment where their employees are proud to work there. It helps to sustain an inclusive culture, and just making sure that we can give back.
Wow, that's impressive. And a lot of those not-for-profits we're partnering with at the Westside Future Fund. I was thinking about Trees Atlanta. We're actually partnering with Trees Atlanta to do a lot of our landscaping and other projects. So that was great to hear. What about America Family Insurance? Tell us a little bit about your corporate volunteerism. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, I think I'll echo a lot of what has been said. We feel that part of our corporate volunteerism is key to employee engagement. It's also key to an inclusive environment. So giving employees the opportunity to identify those organizations in those neighborhoods where they want to be involved, and they want to give their time and effort. And so again, Atlanta is no different than any other community we've worked in, but it is definitely a priority. We give the call, and where there's a need within the West Side area, our employees show up. I know recently there were about 1,000 of my colleagues that help families on the West Side with some of the food packing programs. We've engaged with the back to school drives. And for those of my colleagues that are there within the Atlanta area, they have a presence in that neighborhood and want to be connected. And so I think to what has been said in terms of engaging our employees from an executive level all through the ranks, that it's important that we not only think about how they show up in their communities, how they give financially. We have partnerships with nonprofits across the country, but I think, again, understanding those nonprofits that are engaged with communities that understand the lived experience is key for us. And so we're always evolving that, and always listening to our employees and wanting to adjust in terms of how they want to be involved. So the wraparound services that families need, that when we send out that call, our employees show up to be a part of those efforts.
Yeah, one thing I learned, working with the Westside Future Fund, I think y'all all said in different ways in your answers, is that your own corporate giving, I think I heard each of y'all in your companies, you take a lot of direction from your employees. I think I heard that in all y'all's answers, that when you think about the not-for-profits and areas you want to give, that what your employees say is really important. And so I guess what's good to hear is when your employees have good volunteer efforts on the West Side, they feed that back, and it becomes a little bit of a virtuous cycle, right? That they like what they're doing, and y'all obviously want to support your employees in that, which is one reason we really appreciate it. I think the other thing I heard was the learning that you think your employees have working in the community. I think I heard in a couple of your answers about diversity and inclusion is specifically a part of what you feel like people are learning as part of their volunteer efforts on the West Side. But as y'all think, but any for the three, I'll kind of put this up for a second, and then we're going to go to another pre-recorded interview. Any one volunteer project that really you want to highlight for viewers, that something that really has kind of stuck with you, that made a big difference, that your employees were especially proud of? Anyone want to kind of highlight one particular project? Or
yeah, I'll start. I think, again, just the fact that we all miss seeing each other and being in the office together, but the fact that we are, all of those anyways, who are mapped to headquarters here in Atlanta, just the ability to say that we are using our office space, right? So again, catering all of those meals and having hands on deck to help to interact with these nonprofit partners, even though we can't be together as employees and teammates in the building, but to ensure that we do have those collaborative efforts and to join forces to help. And I think it's just especially impressive for our employees, given the fact that we are in the midst of this global health pandemic and we're still making efforts to contribute. So for example, we did participate in a boycott during the month of July. Those funds were given to our CSR efforts to ensure that we are contributing to the Atlanta area. So again, making sure that they are there are adequate school supplies given to students, and making sure that we are, again, just helping everyone to make it through this weird year that we are all having, and just to make sure that we're supporting each other as best as we can.
Yeah, no, thank you. And yeah, it is a little weird. But appreciate y'all coming through this live broadcast in this way. And right now we're going to go cut to another pre-recorded interview. Actually, this was one with one of our other stadium partners with NCR that's especially been focused on our cradle to career area. And when we come back to y'all, we're going to actually invite audience to come in through social media to ask some questions. But I think for this next live broadcast with NCR, we're going to cut to a pre-recorded interview to hear from Yvonne Whitaker. And then we'll come back to our panelists and take some questions from our audience. So let's cut to that next video, please.
Hey, I'm Crystal Williams, Chief Development Officer at Westside Future Fund. And in keeping with today's theme around our corporate partners and the incredible investments they are making to help transform the West Side, I had an opportunity to sit down with the head of the NCR Foundation. Yvonne, thanks for sitting down with me today. Why did NCR decide to partner with Westside Future Fund?
Well, the mission, I would say, of NCR Foundation is to advance technology through STEAM education. That's really what our mission is. And one of the most important ways we do it is investing with school children in that area. So that made this project such a good fit for us.
Your colleagues are really involved on the West Side. Can you talk a little bit more about corporate volunteerism?
Well, that is very intentional on our part. We truly believe that if we take our financial investment and then we also have our employees become engaged and give their time and their talents, that's a double investment. It's the time and talent, and it's the financial investment, and it just makes a bigger impact with the population and the projects that we're working on.
One of Westside Future Fund's impact strategy areas is cradle to career education. Can you talk more about NCR's investment in this area and how it's making a difference on the West Side, as well as enriching the talent pipeline?
Yes, when it comes to that education piece, the area that we really hone in on is around STEAM and STEM education. And we really want to provide those opportunities to students around that, just so they have a picture of some of the possibilities out there for them. And so the story I really love to tell is when we had a group of the robotics club with the fourth graders come through our office last year. And we had just come out of one of the innovation testing labs, and this little fourth grade boy looked at me and said, you know, I was going to be a doctor, but I might have to rethink this because this technology stuff looks really cool. And that just made, to me, that moment, I looked at him, I thought, it's working, okay? The investments that we are making to show them what opportunities they are is gonna really change that talent pipeline. It's gonna make it more diverse and more inclusive, and having all those perspectives into it is really gonna strengthen down the road the technology field as a whole.
Education is a real focus for the NCR Foundation. Can you talk more about NCR's investment in Hollis and why it's so important?
With Hollis, it's very holistic. It's, you know, it's our financial investments, it's, you know, all the other pieces that I spoke about, but really what Hollis is trying to do as an APS school is to become a STEM certified school. Their teachers are so invested in giving the students the best opportunities that they can in that STEM field. When they redid that school, the STEM lab that they put in there is just amazing. And I know the students are so much benefiting from that. So if we can help deepen that investment that Hollis is already making, it's just a win-win situation because they can become a STEM certified school. Those students are going to get all of those skills, and eventually the technology field at large is going to really benefit from that diversity and inclusion around the talent pool.
All right, thank you, Crystal Williams. Our Chief Development Officer does a great job working with all of our stadium partners for that interview and for NCR's investment, especially in our Cradle to Career area with the Hollis Innovation Academy. And I think now we're gonna go back to our live cam to Benjamin. And if you're watching live on social media, if you have some questions for our live panelists, and so live panelists, what we thought we'd do here is to encourage, you know, back to the kind of the weird moments, still practicing social distancing. So we take questions from our viewers during the summits via social media, so they can post a question on one of the social media feeds. And so Benjamin's watching that feed right now. And so Benjamin, have any questions come across from our viewers that they want to come in for some of our panelists here this morning?
We've had one question from Bob Dickinson, which was largely answered by the panel discussion, actually. He asked, how are these companies getting their employees involved in not just their social responsibility diversity departments? How are they educating them? So Bob, I hope that you heard, you know, for the most part, the answer to your question there, but if not, reiterate. Let's see exactly what you're trying to get to. But mostly we're just getting a lot of comments and compliments. We've got, we've got Douglas Dewberry saying, great testimony by Zavier of the miracle that can happen when you invest and lean into the community programs like Chris 180 at Promise Center. We've got Tangi Allen also praising Zavier's devotion this morning, saying bravo at Promise Center, Chris 180 and WFF, job well done. Let's go over to YouTube. So YouTube, we've got Shirley Coleman saying, good morning, everyone. Greetings from Sadie G. Mays and Rehab Center. We are COVID-19 free and accepting new patients. That's great to hear. Thank you for tuning in, Ms. Shirley. We've got Ms. Catherine Ramos saying, thank you, Zavier. I hope your words this morning inspire your friends as they did me. Yeah, Zavier is really getting a lot of love for his devotion. But I'm encouraging everybody that's watching, if you have questions for our panelists, they're here to answer your questions. Let's take advantage of them while they're offering their time for us this morning. Bill Bolden joining. Thank you, Bill, for all of the help with the food bank location and everything that you guys are doing with Food Well Alliance. Bill says, good morning, everyone. I love that we can use the old food bank property in support of Westside community, feeding bodies, hearts, and souls. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody at Food Well Alliance. Kate Connor, also Food Well Alliance, joining in, saying, enjoy this beautiful day. It is a beautiful Friday. But yeah, not many questions just yet, John, but we'll get them in as we go.
All right, no, thank you. Well, I thought what we could do, and I know we're kind of into the last segment with our live panelists, we can go back to them. And maybe, you know, for each of y'all, maybe kind of the same closeout question, and appreciate y'all being very much here this morning. But as, you know, one of the things when I started my work at the Westside Future Fund, a lot of the concern of the residents was, you know what, y'all are just doing this until the Super Bowl happens. Because at the time, Atlanta had won the Super Bowl, and it was like, once the Super Bowl's over, y'all are all gonna leave. Well, you're here, so thank you. And you've stuck with it. And maybe you can just, you know, from each of y'all, kind of share what you see ahead and how you're gonna, you know, continue to focus on the West Side, but what folks can expect to see from each of your companies in the next couple years ahead. So maybe I'll start with you, Ashley.
Thank you, John. So, you know, as I said before, when Arthur Blank Foundation, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium came to us and said, hey, in building this stadium, we want to make a real commitment to the West Side community. And we don't just want to put Band-Aids on problems, slap paint up to, you know, have a very surface level transformation. They wanted a holistic transformation, and that really inspired me. And they've stayed true to their word. They brought in amazing partners. I really admire the work of NCR, Mercedes-Benz, American Family, Chick-fil-A. It's been incredible. And we also, as CSR peers, we have a quarterly meeting where we talk about our engagement on the West Side to get ourselves organized and also spread the love among partners on the West Side. So one of those, you know, things that is close to Novelis's heart, we really value education, and particularly STEM education. We're an international company who is full of engineers and technicians, and some of those require some 4-year degrees and specialties, and some can go right to work. And so we want to expose, you know, more of our young people to lucrative careers in manufacturing, as well as the other corporate functions that we have based with our world headquarters here in Atlanta. The other thing I would say, in addition to, you know, being true partners with, you know, some of these outstanding corporate partners, is also looking at ways where Novelis's partnerships with our nonprofits like Red Cross, C5 Foundation, Atlanta Habitat, how we can use those partnerships to benefit the West Side as well. So looking at specifically with Red Cross, you know, smoke alarm canvassing, how can we get our colleagues out in the communities to promote safety? How can we be a partner with Dr. Ford and Hollis Academy, not just for the annual MLK junior events, but more holistically? So, you know, we've fallen in love with the West Side, and I think it's because we've seen the heart of this community, and we just want to be a part of it in a holistic way. So again, we think we have a great foundation to build upon. We're seeing the transformation, and there's still certainly work to be done. But we look forward to an awesome trajectory and path ahead.
Well, thank you for that answer, Ashley. So next, you know, maybe, you know, in the years ahead from Mercedes-Benz, what can folks continue to expect to see from Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you may have heard our tagline, the best or nothing, right? So we're asking all of our employees to really aspire to fully position our company as the best or nothing. And that means with our colleagues, our dealers, our customers, and of course, most importantly, our community, the community stakeholders. And so really it's just being a call to action. And that can only be fully realized if we set goals that are going to require us as a company to improve our own performance, but also to be invested in the community. And that does require a steadfast effort over the long term. So it absolutely is nothing that is short-lived. We are in it to make sure that we do have sustainable impact. And so some of the things that we're just doing internally as a company is ensuring that we're cultivating a culture of inclusion. And so that means just continuing to set the tone from the top, making sure that we do have our leadership invested. So this is not just, our frontline employees going out and contributing those employee volunteer hours. This is everyone all in, and continuing to make sure that we elevate not only our external support of our corporate social responsibility efforts, but ensuring that internally as well, we're doing everything that we can to combat systemic inequality and racism. And so that means directing our philanthropic efforts, philanthropy, volunteerism, all of that to increase, as I mentioned before, equity in education, food access, and ensuring that we've got the community representation as well. And so one of the things that's underway is ensuring that we create a pipeline project. So it's not just giving support for just one school year. We are really taking the time to invest efforts. So we start really with a pipeline initiative. So we start at the elementary school and then follow those students through middle school, through high school, as they matriculate to university level, and then also coming full circle if they want to come and work at Mercedes-Benz USA, either via apprenticeship, internship, or full-time employment. So we want to make sure that we're creating something that is sustainable, that goes beyond just 1 year. And then internally, it's important for me to ensure that we mirror our community, our workforce, our customer base. So continuing to address diversity representation internally, looking at equity disparities, and ensuring that we have that internal commitment to ensure that there is that accountability and that we continue to measure progress. So will not be an overnight effort, but this is absolutely something that is not a fleeting moment. It is very important. This change, again, it is in front of us. It's a very exciting time, and ensure that we maintain our momentum there.
Thank you. That's a great answer, and great to see how much thoughtfulness you think about and bring to things. So what about American Family Insurance? What can folks expect to see in the year ahead?
Yeah, as I said earlier, corporate responsibility and being a partner in our communities is now part of our overall business strategy, and it's who we are. And I think what you're going to continue to see from us in the long term is advocacy. We've seen the data on how communities of color particularly are being impacted by COVID and issues of social injustice. We see the disparities in education and the emotional trauma that much of our youth is going through. We understand the impacts of climate. And so for us, this is compelling us to act. And so we plan to serve as a catalyst for conversations and innovations in all of these areas. We want to transcend the traditional norms, and we want to spark ideas within our mission to protect everyone's dreams. And so we believe that everyone deserves the right to live a dignified and an economically secure and loving life. And so for us, we are going to continue to work to close equity gaps across the country, and including Atlanta. I also want to say, we talk about the impacts of community. We talk about doing good in our communities. And we remember that communities are our employees. These are our consumers. These are the people we interact with and see every day. We have employees that have lived experience of the things we're talking about. And so it is, we I think have an obligation and a commitment to continue to look at all of the issues that we've talked about today, all of the social justice issues that are going on in our country, because we owe it to our employees. And so we want to provide that support. And I would say to the earlier question in terms of education, we have business resource groups that meet, that talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, that talk about issues in our LGBTQ community, that talk about issues within our veteran community. And we bring the entire workforce together across our enterprise for education, understanding, allyship, so that as we are looking at how we engage in our communities and we look at how we as an organization are leaning into some of these issues, we feel that our employees have the information that they need to support and to be a part of this movement. So for us, it's this collective viewpoint around education, bringing employees along, and recognizing that our employees and our customers are also dealing with the issues that we're trying to solve. So when I think of it that way, and when we think about it that way, and we get the direction from our leadership on these issues, we know that we're in it. And so we're not stepping away from this anytime soon.
Well, Ashley, Erica, Nyra, all three. I hope our viewers can. Well, what I really appreciate in hearing, reflecting y'all's answers is how much thoughtfulness y'all bring to your positions, and I know that thoughtfulness then reflects back to your corporate strategies. And we're lucky to have you. I want to say thank you to each of you because I know y'all have national portfolios, so the demands on your time I know are extensive, and we're lucky to have this as much of your mind share this morning. But really wanted to lift up for our viewers, and I hope folks watching this morning not only appreciate the philanthropy you bring, but the incredible thoughtfulness and heart that all your companies, and clearly from your personal leadership you bring to this. So thank you for being with us this morning. We so much appreciate it. Thank you for believing in a new Westside future and staying engaged with us as a partner with us. And look forward to continuing to work together in the year ahead. And for folks that want to learn more about each of your company, I know y'all got great stuff up in your websites, and if folks are interested in individual follow-up, we can help facilitate that. So thank y'all again. We're going to cut now back to our live correspondent. So thank y'all for coming again this morning. We appreciate you putting up with some of our earlier start there. So Benjamin, we're back out to you, man, at 970.
Yeah, so I'm here.
We've got another video. We're lifting up, another stadium partner. You want to help set up our next video for our viewers? What folks are going to see in just a second?
Absolutely. So I got a chance to have a conversation with David Stiffler over at Equifax. He actually lives in St. Louis, so we had a Zoom conversation. I recorded it, and David took some time to just talk about how Equifax has been involved in revitalization on the West Side, rebuilding, and the support that they've had for WFF's impact area of mixed income. And, mixed income is one of our, central roles of what we do here with that Future Fund as far as providing affordable, high quality, affordable housing for people on the West Side. So take a look.
All right, this is Benjamin Nyra with Westside Future Fund. I'm delighted today to be joined by David Stiffler. He is the president of the Equifax Foundation. David, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Benjamin. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well. So let's get right into it. Tell us, why did Equifax partner with Westside Future Fund?
So Equifax very proudly has been a part of the Westside Future Fund from its very inception. We were part of the ACP at the time that was reviewing what the Westside Future Fund would eventually become. So we've been on that ground level along with Arthur Blank and many of the different ACP corporations from the start. So we're proud in many ways. We're proud to be supporting financially and through our talent the work of the Westside Future Fund, the work of data collection, the work of providing different programs and volunteer opportunities through the Westside Future Fund to the residents of the West Side.
And talk a little bit about the volunteerism that happens through Equifax on the West Side. What community projects have you guys been involved in and so on?
You bet. So, our involvement with the Westside Future Fund and the West Side has been about 7 years now. So we've seen a lot of different engagement. So Equifax as a company is really focused on helping people live their financial best. So a lot of our volunteer engagement reflects that mission and that purpose. So we do work with the Westside Future Fund. We use the Westside Future Fund Volunteer Corps, that link and that wonderful outlet to direct certain volunteers to do whatever the Westside Future Fund has identified. But we're heavily invested in the On the Rise Financial Center. We work heavily with Quest. We do work with the Westside Workforce Development, Arthur Blank's team as well. So we've done everything from build new habitat homes to help financial coaching with residents on their credit, to gardens and parks, to skills-based work with Leonard at Quest around internal audits to improve his technology efficiency. So for us, engagement is long-term. It runs the gambit. It's skills-based. It's need-based, and it continues to evolve.
And you just alluded to it, which, is a nice segue into my next question for you, which is, we have 4 impact areas, one of which is affordable housing, high quality affordable housing via our Home on the West Side program, which is part of the mixed income impact area. And as you said, Equifax is really involved in that via you all's support of On the Rise Financial Center. If you could just talk a little bit more about that specific relationship.
Sure. So Equifax, again, with our focus on ensuring that people are living their financial best, recognized early on in partnership with the Westside Future Fund, but also other agencies and initiatives, that there wasn't a resident sort of owned operation that helps them live their financial best. And so what we created with a number of different partners, including Arthur Blank's foundation, is the On the Rise Financial Center, which is really focused on providing high-touch, quality financial coaching to the residents of the Westside, with a very strong emphasis on how they can build their credit towards specific goals. So you don't just build your credit to build it. You build it towards the goal of owning a new home, or having stable rental property, or buying a car, or even achieving a certain job where maybe credit was a barrier previously. So the On the Rise Financial Center continues to grow. It continues to scale. It continues to work with more and more partners. So it's something that we're super proud of, and now it belongs to an even bigger effort of ours called Greater Atlanta Builds Credit. So both the On the Rise Financial Center and GABC, as we call it, very focused on helping people improve their credit towards very specific goals in their financial lives.
And final question for you, David. What's got you most excited about the revitalization happening on the Westside?
What keeps me most excited, in some ways paradoxically most concerned, is the way in which the Westside Future Fund, Arthur Blank's foundation, Equifax, and other key partners on the ground like the On the Rise Financial Center, we're really trying to ensure that the residents of the Westside do not get displaced, that they are communicated to effectively to what's available to them through partners like Equifax, through the Westside Future Fund, through the On the Rise Center, because we don't want to take legacy residents who have such great pride in their community and their neighborhood and displace them through great new housing, or displace them through interest from outside organizations who are developing parts of the Westside. So when I get excited about the idea of a longtime resident improving their financial health, either attaining a rental or their first home, finding a new job, understanding credit better, and then seeing a future that's more open to their financial success.
All right, David Stiffler, president of the Equifax Foundation. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you, appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again in the future.
It's a pleasure to be here. We love partnering with the Westside Future Fund.
All right, brother, thanks.
All right, thank you, David. And David mentioned in the broadcast that they've were there from the very beginning. Before I took this particular role, I used to run a group called the Atlantic Committee for Progress that helped launch the Westside Future Fund. And at the time, Rick Smith was the volunteer chair, and we were doing best practice work. He said, let me introduce you to David Stiffler from St. Louis to learn about what we're doing there. And David, thank you so much. You brought so much intellectual capital to our efforts. And next week, our next broadcast, 2 weeks from now, will be coming from the Quest Impact Center. There's been such a big focus of Equifax work to build up financial readiness from the Quest Impact Center, where the On the Rise Financial Center will be located. And we'll be coming live there 2 weeks from now. And we have one more pre-recorded interview, and I think, Benjamin, you want to set this one up too. I think we're focusing on our last impact area of public safety. But I think you wanted to talk a little bit about the interview you did with Kirby Thompson, who was with Truist.
And in his office, and speaking about revitalization happening on the West Side, his office building is right now going through its own revitalization. So that was fun walking through the construction. But I got a chance to sit down with Kirby, and we talked about the different ways that Truist is getting involved with safety and security on the West Side. So take a look.
We've got a long-time commitment to the city of Atlanta. And when the executive leadership of this bank knew that the West Side had an opportunity, we jumped in. We're dedicated to the West Side. We believe in the transformational work that the Westside Future Fund is doing, and we want to be a part of its success.
Excellent. And talk a little bit about the volunteerism that's going on here at Truist on the West Side. What are some of the projects you guys have been involved in on the West Side, or some that you're looking to get involved in?
Well, absolutely. One of our initial charitable gifts was to the Hollis Academy. And Hollis is doing so many inspirational things. So working with the teachers, supplementing the work that they do in the classroom, that's a big part of what we do. Where we can make a difference in education, that is just a tremendous kind of decision maker for how life is going to shape. And we want to be a part of making a better future for the lives of people on the West Side.
And speaking of making lives better on the West Side, Truist, formerly known as SunTrust, you guys donated $3 million to the At Promise Center. And that plays into the safety and security impact area of Westside Future Fund. If you could just elaborate a little bit about the relationship between Truist and the At Promise Center.
Well, the Atlanta Police Foundation has been a charity that we've invested in, and we've had executives that have been leaders on that board. And when they showed us the difference that the Promise Center is making with these young people that normally would be incarcerated or put in jail, we felt like that they could really kind of rehabilitate and make some of these young people have a different outcome in their life. We toured the Promise Center, we saw some of the programs they were doing, plus all the partners they brought in are really community partners we've invested in. So through Promise and the Police Foundation and all the other community kind of engagement they have there, we felt like this is going to be a real difference in making this city, but also those neighborhoods a little bit safer, a little bit more livable.
We definitely are noticing the difference made, so thank you guys for that incredible impact. And final question for you, what's got you most excited about the revitalization happening on the West Side?
Well, we've got executive leadership on the Westside Future Fund board, but also on the real estate committee. And as we look at the opportunity to really rehabilitate, revitalize, and really reform, it's transformational. So I think as we see more people can come and live, work, and play on the West Side, that's really going to make a long-term difference in this community.
Absolutely. And with your help, we're looking to continue that long-term difference. Mr. Kirby Thompson, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for giving us time. And we look forward to furthering the relationship with you guys going forward. Thank you so much.
Well, Benjamin, we remain committed to the West Side, and we pledge to always be a partner. Thank you again, and thanks for all you do at the Westside Future Fund.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Kirby, and Truist has been such a major investor, as Kirby mentioned when we stood up our partnership with the Hollis Innovation Academy. The two early investors to support the great leadership of Dr. Ford was Truist and the Coca-Cola Company, and we couldn't. There were 12 stadium partners that were initial partners who have invested in the efforts. We couldn't get them all on the live broadcast this morning, but we wanted to make sure we made you aware of who the rest of them are. So I'm going to show a short video that's going to kind of just list the other stadium partners that have been part of this, investing in this new West Side future. And then we're going to come out and I'm going to announce the Home Depot winner. So don't tune out until we come back for that. So let's go to that next pre-recorded video just to share with you the other stadium partners who've been such a big part of our efforts here. Thank you to all the stadium partners who are such a big part of investing in the new West Side future. And as always, we're grateful to the Home Depot Foundation because we have a winner for our Home Depot gift card. It's Katie Kirkpatrick. So hopefully you're still watching the broadcast, so you'll be getting a gift certificate that you can use at any Home Depot store. So thank you, Home Depot Foundation. And as we wind up our broadcast here this morning, want to a lot of work goes in the live broadcast. I want to thank everyone who participated. I want to especially thank our West Side correspondent Benjamin Early. So I'm doing all the pre-recorded interviews, and so hopefully, because we really wanted to be really intentional about lifting up our stadium partners, because as we go out there and solicit funds, to invest, it's thanks to the stadium partners that the Westside Future Fund really got going. And I remember very well when I had not even been on the job about it, less than a year. Mr. Blank hosted a dinner with then Mayor Reed, where we kind of laid out, we had spent about 6 or 7 months really listening to the community about the priorities that they wanted for the community. And one of the big things that came out of the community, out of the Westside Land Use Framework Plan, there were 2 big things that came out of that really always stick with me. One is we knew that the neighborhoods need to repopulate because they had depopulated. But so yay to people moving back in, but no to us being pushed out. So a huge coming out of the Westside Land Use Framework Plan was, the anti-displacement, ensuring that legacy residents and those with the connection to the Westside could come, and then as well as preserving the heritage and culture of the Westside. And then at that stadium partner dinner that Mr. Blank hosted and Mayor Reed was there and leading partners, that's when some of the initial philanthropic commitments were made that enabled us to launch back in 2017 the Anti-Tax Displacement Fund. That was the first major program that was launched by the Westside Future Fund, for which we're very grateful, because it really showed residents who wanted to be intentional about trying to respond to your concerns on behalf of those stadium partners to ensure that as the Westside does revitalize, like we heard from Ebony this morning, to be a part of it. And so, yeah, and thank you for Ebony for being here this morning. And as we kind of look forward to the future, we'll be lifting up the Quest Impact Center 2 weeks from now. So hopefully you'll tune back in there. But also encourage you to invest in the collective effort. We're out there, and we didn't feature this broadcast, but in previous broadcasts, we're bringing more multifamily online with other partners like Quest and Atlanta Habitat and others, that because during COVID, the need for high quality, affordable housing is even more and more apparent. So if you're inspired to invest in these collective efforts, to invest in New Westside Future, please check out our website, and please check on out, because you heard all the different companies this morning talking about volunteerism. And so we love to get volunteers engaged. So if you want to volunteer in the efforts where you actually can be volunteered in food delivery, please also check out our website to get involved. So please stay engaged and help us build that new Westside Future. And thanks for tuning in this morning.